Welcome to another episode of Solitaryism, and I'm Robert Bitto, your host. The title of today's show is not very clickbaity. A Tale of Two Injuries. Now, what the heck do I mean by that? Well, I guess it was 8 years ago now, I had a hiking accident. I slipped off of a hiking trail because some dog approached me out of nowhere around a curve and up a hill, and it was a no dogs trail and it was pretty steep, and I tried to negotiate the dog and I fell into a ravine and I tore all the tendons in my right knee and it hurt like hell. I thought I broke my leg because it was quite a fall. And so I went to the emergency room, whatever, they did their tests and, x-rayed me and all that stuff, and no broken bones, but pretty much all the tendons in my knee area were all torn. So it was my first trip to the ER and my first time having to recover from something like this. I was on crutches. I had to wear a brace for weeks and weeks. And I wasn't really completely healed for months. Okay, I didn't do any surgery or anything. But the whole point of this video, how the heck does this relate to solitaryism? Well, I had a friend from high school, a grandfathered-in friend, from high school who experienced almost the same thing. He had an accident and he tore all the tendons in his leg. It was in his opposite knee, okay? So it's funny, we both had this same injury in the same part of the body at around the same time. I think his injury happened like the very day after mine. And this guy lives in Utah. I'm in San Diego. And both of us grew up in another state. So he's Mormon and he has 6 kids. And I'm all alone. Boo-hoo. I'm all by myself. And so you would think that I would have a rougher time because I'm doing everything by myself. And I own my own business, so I had to run my own business. I couldn't really take off work. I had to slow down. And since I own my own business, my time is very flexible to some degree. But let's compare the two. Now, I was following this guy on Facebook, and he was saying about how he just was so thankful to his wife and to his kids and everything for helping him through this whole thing. And I was in touch with him off and on, through Messenger. I guess it was called something else back then. But I was back and forth with him. How's your recovery? Blah, 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 all this stuff. Even though he was talking about all the support that he got from his wife, his kids, other church members during his recovery, I recovered faster than he did. Now, why is that? I didn't have any help. He had help. He got off work and all this other stuff. Well, the funny thing is, he made a couple of posts saying that because he was living in a house of 6 kids and a dog and all this other stuff, that he really couldn't rest. And that's kind of funny because while I wasn't having somebody make my dinner and fetch it for me or, get a glass of water for me or whatever, I had nobody helping me. But I could rest whenever I wanted to. And my home where I was living at the time, it was super quiet. I still live in a quiet home, a different one though now. But I could rest. And that's one of the biggest keys to recovery is resting. If you can't sleep and you can't rest, you're tossing and turning, it's going to slow down your recovery. So with all of the help that he had, and he was so grateful for all the help, he was also hindered by the fact that he had 6 kids and they wouldn't give him a moment's rest. If he wanted to rest during the afternoon, he couldn't. I could, and I did. And I was out and about and up and around. And I guess because I felt, hey, it's all up to me. I've got to do this. And, I'm doing this by myself. It's all up to me. I've got to recover and get back out in the world. Well, maybe that had an effect too. I wasn't coddled. I didn't have people to lean on. Oh, it'll be all okay because people will do things for me. So yeah, my mindset was different from his. It's an interesting comparison there, that I recovered faster even though I was alone. But it was because I believed that I could rest more. And an interesting aside, a follow-up, just recently this same person announced to the world that he's been suffering for the past 6 months because he's been going through a divorce. Now, Mormons, I don't understand. Your marriage is sealed in the temple and it's for time and all eternity. And he's claiming that his wife is leaving him. And he's been depressed for 6 months because he didn't want the marriage to end. Well, I haven't been depressed for 6 months. And, I don't know what this guy is going to do. Most of his kids are adults now. And he's been catered to his whole adult life. I remember one time when he came and visited San Diego for a conference, a church conference. And I hung out with him for a while. In fact, he stayed with me for one night. And we woke up in the morning and both of us were wearing the same shirt. And I was like, what, huh? We have this exact same shirt. And I said, where'd you get that? Did you get that at Old Navy? And he said, oh, I don't know. My wife buys all my clothes for me. And I looked at him kind of strange. And then he looked at me with this angry kind of look. I think he might have been a little embarrassed. I don't know. Maybe he thought I was judging him for something. Yeah, he didn't even shop for his own clothes. So I don't know what the guy's going to do now. And I've gotten a lot of flack from him and other people who belong to that church because they're all about having kids. And if you're not married, you're next to nothing. A lot of people think, because you're supposed to, be a good church member, get married for time and all eternity and have tons of kids, supposedly to release the spirits from the spirit prison. But it's, to increase church numbers. The more kids you have, the more members there are. The more tithes there are. The more money that flows to the church. The bigger the organization gets. You know how it is. But that's a sidetrack. So, past 6 months, I haven't been miserable. And I had a quick recovery from my accident. And that has to do with me being alone. So, that's about it. That's all I wanted to say on this topic. I hope you got something out of it. Anyway. Until next time, remember to be happy alone.